Recording in progress.
But I know.
Call a meeting to order. This is the December 8th, 2021 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. Our first order of business is a continued item. It's a notice of intent. The proponent is John Finaros. The location is 19 Clifton Street. And this is a construction of a new single-family home not within the 100-year floodplain, but adjacent to, I guess we might say. Do we have a DEP file number yet?
We do not, Madam Chair,
Not yet.
but they said it should be forthcoming.
Okay.
All right, good evening, Madam
So
Chair.
if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us about the project.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Kenneth Laney of Cornerstone Land Associates, representing the applicant, John Finaris, tonight for 19 Clifton Street. We're before you this evening to allow for the construction of a single-family home with an associated garage in the bordering land.
Garage?
Say it again? Oh, was that not? No? Somebody? No.
No, not for you.
Sorry. Go-
We have some
yeah.
people on Zoom. We'll
Got it.
get them muted.
Yes. Sorry. Took me by surprise there. With a single-family home with an associated garage, within the portion of the bordering land subject to flooding on the lot. As you folks may recall, we came before you last year, I believe it was. There was a little confusion. The applicant had constructed an addition on a home that was subdivided directly beside this particular property. At that time, a portion of the fill that was taken out of that structure during the foundation excavation was placed on this lot, and there was concern that that area was within the 100-year floodplain. We established the 100-year floodplain at elevation 104 on the NAVD 88 datum, and ultimately coordinated with the Commission to remove the material within the floodplain. And we're before you tonight for the approval of this notice of intent to allow us to construct this single-family home, and a small portion of this single-family home falls within the floodplain, as well as a small portion of the grading. You can see on the left side of the supplied plan for tonight's meeting that the existing 100-year fill area was 433 cubic feet between the elevations of 103 and 104, and we're providing 650 cubic feet of compensation between elevations 103 and 104 as required under the general performance standards of 310 CMR 1057, bordering land subject to flooding in the Wetlands Protection Act. Beyond that, the single-family house, majority of it is outside of the jurisdiction of the Commission. It does have sewer and water connecting into the street. Has a proposed driveway associated with it for 2 vehicles, and as I stated before, also the 3rd vehicle within the garage single stall. I think that pretty much sums it up. I'd be glad to answer any questions at this time.
Okay. This is a very tight site. Not that the lot is small, but the area that's outside of the floodplain is quite small. I'm wondering, you know, how will you manage working around that house? I'm thinking of perhaps heavy equipment we wouldn't want in the floodplain area.
Yeah, I mean, there's a decent amount. As you can see, the 104 contour pretty much kind of bisects the lot. And that 104 contour runs all the way from the front of the lot to the rear of the lot, which is, again, the reason we were allowed to compensate for that fill in the front of the lot. We have upper area outside of the floodplain to the rear of the lot where we're providing the compensation. So ultimately, I believe that all excavation could be stored outside of the floodplain. If the commission would like, we could, you know, identify that with some construction fencing on site during construction to encourage the excavator and builder to stay out of that area during construction as best we can.
Would you be grading before you start construction to make that area that you're going to compensate for up
Yes.
to grade?
So the compensation area would absolutely be the first thing done.
First thing?
It would have to be. We wouldn't want any type of flood event to occur while we're under construction and then that portion not be provided for the neighboring properties. So that compensation area would be excavated out, and then ultimately it would be fine graded upon completion of the rest of the lot.
Okay, and so where would you be staging everything here? Would there be room on the lot for if you had to leave equipment overnight, for instance?
Yeah, there's sufficient room on the lot. I mean, there's approximately 30 feet between the edge of the lot and the 104 contour, running from the front of the property to the rear of the property. So there should be sufficient room outside of that contour to provide for any type of storage that would be necessary.
Would it be a hardship if you were to delineate that 104 contour with a erosion control fence or something of that sort? I know we did that for the emergency order, but it's fallen into disrepair out there.
Madam Chair, we'd have no problem providing that during construction. No problem. I would assume the orange-type construction fencing that we established during the emergency repair would be sufficient, but we could also provide, you know, some straw wattles along that edge as well.
Yeah, it's almost to the point where you could just pick it up, except that you are changing the line slightly up near the construction area.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Questions, comments?
He answered the questions I would have had.
I have a question.
Somebody online there, Peter?
Denise Roy.
Hello?
Hi. Hi. I'm one of the abutters, and I want to put it on record again. That whole back area will be flooded. It flooded in the spring. It flooded when we had the large storms this summer, and they moved that flood line last year. They paid to have it moved. And the people, whoever buys that house, they are going to get flooded. And you are now encroaching on the original flood line. And I think that's wrong because when we had this issue, when we were up here for the 205 Billerica Street, when the contractor wanted to build in the flood line there, and you said, no, you can't. He had his porch. The feet of the porch were in that flood line, and you said, no, he needed to put a fence and nobody could go on that property. So now all of a sudden, we're going to put a driveway and we're going to have equipment. And we know already when they put the fence in, they just ignore it, they knock it down, and nothing happens the way you people tell them it has to happen. We see it on a regular basis.
Miss Roy, could I just get your address for the record as well?
7 Clifton Street.
Thank you.
Anyone
Louisa,
else?
point of order, Louisa, I mean, we haven't, I don't believe, or have we opened the public comment period yet in the fact that we don't have a DEP file number?
No,
So are
we
these
don't.
So these are all informal comments right now, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Like a vote can't be taken on this project tonight.
So, I mean, not to take away from any of the comments that have been made, but, until we have a DEP file number, we can't open the public hearing. This is all just for information purposes at this point, correct?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely be continuing it, and we'll have a chance for others at the next hearing to make some comments if they wish to as well.
I don't know, Pete, is there a way to share the figure? Because I think the site plan does a good job of showing where the cuts and fill are going to be made in an effort to make sure that we're not losing any flood storage capacity on the site.
Do you have a way of putting that on your up on the screen?
On my Zoom, no.
No.
And for future reference, and I'll make a note of it for this project, if we provide that to LTC in advance, that's something that they might be able to do as well.
I would like to comment in reply to the neighbor that I did walk out in that area where the compensation is going to be created, and it's already quite damp back there. So in one respect, it's probably the perfect place for some compensation, but in another respect, you're right that any homeowner will have a wet yard, and I don't think I would appreciate that, but some people aren't interested in the yard, so.
Madam Chair, if I could just comment on that. I would say that wet yard that you experienced out there is based on the groundwater elevation, not the floodplain.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you. Are you near the microphone?
Trying, sorry. Maybe it's a mask. I said, I believe that the floodplain elevation of 104 wouldn't be the current cause for a damp yard.
Yep.
I think it's got a pretty high water table out in that area.
Right.
With the wetlands so close to the river. But ultimately, I don't think that general area has a good outlet to the river.
No, I wasn't trying to say
Yeah.
that the house would be flooded. I'm just saying that,
Yes, ma'am.
maybe a family of ducks would be a good pet for this particular yard.
There's all sorts of wonderful things that can grow in a garden in a, in a wet farmed area, right?
So I believe, and also in response to the neighbor, I believe the floodplain line, they applied to change it somewhat, if I'm not wrong.
So I don't know if it was to change it. I think it was to establish it, and that was in July of 2014 when that was done.
Right, so I don't believe that's done by actually looking at where the water comes up to on the lot. But that was the reason why this all of a sudden became available for building, I believe, is that the floodplain line was altered by, officially.
Right. I don't believe that it was altered. I think there's a map that provides an elevation
That's
for
what I meant.
floodplain, and then what the previous engineer did was establish that the 104 contour, which is the elevation of the floodplain,
Right.
ran in this particular location on the property.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have had experience in the past when you have these
Okay.
floodplain maps, they're generalized with an elevation, and surveyors are able to identify specifically where that elevation is identified on the property. And you can then verify that with a LOMA, or letter of map amendment, which ideally is what was done
Yeah.
in 2014.
Yeah, that's a better explanation, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So is there anyone from the public here tonight that would like to make comments or ask questions about this project? And there's no one else on Zoom that would like to make comments as it was pointed out? Would you like to speak? No? Okay. You have to speak at the podium, I'm sorry.
Start by providing your name and address, please.
My name is Janet Paz. I live at 104 Alma Street, Lowell, and I'm not here for this, but I just would like to say that there was a rainstorm about 3 weeks ago, November 12th, and I was actually coming home, and I tried to go down Clifton Street, and there had to have been at least 4.5 feet of water, and you couldn't get down, and barrels were floating in
What
it.
street is this?
Clifton. So, just like to say that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so at this time, if there's no more input from the public, we do not have a DEP file number for this project, so we will need to continue this until our next meeting.
I'll make a motion to continue to December 22nd, I believe, is our next.
No, we don't have a meeting.
No, just
until
one in December?
January.
All right, the January meeting is
The second Wednesday in January,
January 12th.
January, thank you, Brad.
Yep.
January 12th. Okay, so we have a motion to continue to January 12th. Is there a second?
that.
Seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. So we will consider this again on January 12th. The hearing's still open if anyone else wants to send in remarks or make comments or ask questions. Thank you. Next on our agenda is a request for determination of applicability that has been continued once or twice already. The address is 5157 Shirley Avenue, and the proponent is Sovan Kong. I believe he's the landowner. He has filed to get permission to remove brush from this particular lot. Is there anyone here for this project? Have we heard from the applicant?
I had spoken to my colleague, the associate planner, Dylan Ricker, and he had not been able to get a hold of this applicant following the legal decision that was issued by the law department.
I'm going to suggest that that I did ask earlier in the week to try to contact the applicant, and we were unsuccessful. This has been going on for several meetings now, and I'm going to suggest that we table this until such time as we hear back that the applicant either wants to continue or withdraw this proposal. And then we would give the public at least, make the applicant know that we need at least one meeting's warning to tell the public that it's coming back onto the agenda. So if someone would like to make a motion to that effect to,
Louisa, I'm happy to suggest a motion if it makes sense. I'm thinking of offering a motion to continue this project until the January 26th, 2022 meeting, unless the applicant comes before, makes the request to the commission to discuss it at the January 12th meeting.
okay, so we'll have it, it'll be off the agenda for our next meeting in the second week of January. So the motion has been made that it be continued till, is it January 22nd, Weston?
26th.
26th.
Yeah.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Seconded by Brad. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So
Aye.
this particular project is continued until January 26th. And meanwhile, we will try to contact the applicant. Moving on in our agenda, we have another continued request for determination of applicability sent in by Chanto Mo. The project location is 138 Martin Street. This was a request to, after the fact, authorize an expansion of a driveway in the floodplain. The paving had already taken place. The applicant was unaware of the need for permission from this board. On the same RDA, he is also requesting to reconstruct a deck, but I believe that part of it has been withdrawn. And in fact, the applicant has also asked to have this postponed until the January 26th, 2022 meeting. So if I could have a motion to that effect.
Yeah, just for the record, myself and Commissioner Standish and Dylan had a site visit out there together, talked through the plan, and it did look, I would agree, that the additional paved area was not altering the existing contour. So we gave them kind of a path forward. They're working on their plan now. I'll make a motion to continue this to the January 26th meeting.
Okay, motion made to continue to January 26th, seconded?
A second.
Seconded by Weston. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on, we have a request for determination of applicability from Suleen Catano, the project location 509 Wentworth Avenue. This is a project that wants to construct a three-season porch, and the property is in the 100-year floodplain of whatever the name of that brook is out there. I guess it's Trollbrook, perhaps. I'm not quite sure. Is there anyone here for this project? Okay, we did have this project introduced a meeting or two ago, and I believe we asked for a little more information about the structural support of the porch. And did we receive any additional information about that, Peter?
I don't think so. When I spoke with my
No,
colleagues
and
before the
have we
meeting
heard
today,
from-
it
have
didn't
we
come
heard
up.
from them? It's not really construction season, most likely. We're losing it fast, so I would expect that this project is probably still viable, but we'll try to contact the property owner before the next hearing in second week of January. Can I have a motion to continue this to the second Wednesday of January?
Motion to continue, January 12th.
January 12th. Motion
Second.
made, seconded by Weston. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We're now moving on to new business. We have a request for determination of applicability from the Lowell Regional Water Utility. The project location is Pawtucket Boulevard and Varnum Avenue. It's a project to install a new water line joining two existing lines from Dunbar Avenue to Mammoth Road along the highway there. Part of the route is Pawtucket Boulevard, and part of it is Varnum Avenue. Is there someone here from the city? You state your name, please, and
Oh, I'm Evan Walsh from the Lowell Water Utility, engineer here.
Greetings.
Also, Todd Prokroff from Wood and Curran and Paul Pires from Lowell Water is here as well to answer any further questions after this. Thank you,
Great.
Commission, for having us tonight. We're looking to do a water main project along Pawtucket Boulevard, as stated. This is for public health and safety. This will provide a redundant transmission main between Dunbar and Mammoth on Pawtucket. We've done 4 other projects associated with this redundant transmission main between the years 2010 and 2018. This will be the last piece that will provide redundancy across the river. As part of this, we're going under 2 existing culverts at Clay Pit Brook and Marbles Brook using trenchless technology. We're providing all sediment control along the route as well as in all the catch basins. We're looking for an exemption under CMR 310 10.02 BI due to its public service the public and provide used water. Todd can answer any further questions.
okay. The plan was a little difficult to see on my small screen,
Todd,
but
you wanna present?
But I was curious as far as your erosion control. I couldn't really pick out what that was or where it was, except for the details. I did see the catch basin and things like that. But along the,
Plans here, if you want them, I'm happy to leave them with you if that helps. We're basically planning erosion controls on the riverside of the road, anywhere where we are within the, either within the resource areas or within the riverfront zone. And then there's also some erosion controls on the north side of the road near the culvert crossings as well.
And that can be seen on drawing 102 and 103, if you have those.
okay, I don't. So that erosion control consists of what?
If you don't mind, step to the mic, please.
Sorry.
Thank you.
We're planning on straw wattles there, but we're happy to take a suggestion from the commission if you have a preference.
Okay. And when is this project expected to take place?
It would be summer and fall of next year. The project is funded by the state revolving fund, so we're on a schedule kind of dictated by the funding. That would have us go out to bid in April or May for award in June. Construction would be expected to start in July or August and go through October or November. That's the water main portion. There is likely to be final paving restoration that would occur in the spring of 2023 as well. So no excavation at that time, but just milling and overlay pavement.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Just a comment, maybe, Louisa. There's been a lot of activity. I'm first of all in support of the project. I think it's obviously an important project, but it feels like in that area there's redundant, or I should say, number of excavation projects. Whether it's water mains, sewer mains, electrical utility conduits. Can you tell? Do you have any sense as to whether any other projects are going to be done in that area that would require yet another, ripping up the pavement and excavating?
So after this project's done, Mass DOT's looking to come in and do full pavement, so there shouldn't be any other, it'll be under moratorium for the next 5 years at least. As part of this too, we're looking to see if there are any sewer needs in that area as well, so we won't have to do any future work.
Good. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is you just hate to see, wasted resources paving and, because the work isn't coordinated with other projects. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Did you have to coordinate it all with, there's something going on in the other lane of the road? Bike lanes or shrinking of lanes or something?
If you're referring to the Go Lowell dropped a lane on the, I don't know what direction it would be, but on the right-hand side if you're coming back from Tingsboro, that's supposed to be temporary. I don't know when that will be concluding. But I imagine it would be wrapping up before this work would.
Yeah, we've submitted a traffic management plan to Mass DOT as well, so that's under approval.
Okay. All
Make a
right.
motion to grant a -3 determination for this project.
Okay, is that going to do what you're asking? You did say you wanted an exemption. Is a -3 good?
Negative determinations.
Okay. All right, motion made for a -3 and seconded?
I'll second.
Seconded by Stephen. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you like the larger plan?
I think we have plans, do we, Peter, in the office? Thank you. Next, we have a request for a certificate of compliance from Riverbank Properties. The location is 908966 Lawrence Street, and the DEP file number was 206-0800. This has been an ongoing project for, I think, a couple of years, that they were redoing a parking lot and along the bank of the Concord River. would you like to say something about?
Well, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission, Kenneth Lanier, Cornerstone Land, representing the applicant and owner, Nationwide Tile. We're happy to inform the commission that we believe that the site has been constructed in full compliance with the design plans. Took a long time for them to source a lot of the construction items during the pandemic. So again, yeah, this took a little bit longer than had previously anticipated during the notice of intent discussions. But ultimately, it's functioning well. All the fencing and retaining walls have been installed. The drainage was installed very accurately. And we believe there's stabilization on all of the slopes. I did provide pictures of both the north and the south parking areas for the commission to review. And we're hoping to favorably obtain a certificate of compliance this evening. I'd be glad to answer any questions at this time.
Okay, I did have a couple of questions. Is what you've done along the slope, along the water, permanent, or you plan something else along there
So we
in the spring?
So we really didn't touch the slope. So when you say the slope, you mean the top of the landscaped area just beyond the installation of the vertical granite curbing? And we talking about the north side or the south side?
Okay, so,
I definitely wouldn't call it no slope, but I would agree that it's the area between the vertical granite curbing and the edge of work abutting the river.
Yeah, so my understanding is we did provide a landscape plan. So the landscaping has been installed. The loam and seed, well, loam on that edge has been provided. I believe that was, I don't have the photographs in front of me, but I mean, it's definitely stabilized.
okay, we did get some photos. I could,
I believe they put mulch on it.
I think we'd
I think it
probably
is
want to.
black mulch.
Yeah. I think we'd probably want to watch that and see if by spring there's been any problem with erosion, because it has been cleaned up. In other words, there's not a lot of, there used to be a lot of leaf debris and things like that that were on top of the soil, and that's all been cleaned up. So I'm wondering if that, the mulch or whatever's on there is going to do the job long-term.
I wouldn't mind revisiting it with the commission in the spring, but I know that the owner is looking to do a refinance to cover those construction
Right,
costs that took quite some time, so it is stabilized currently, so we would be asking for the COC if possible.
Well, certainly it's not the time of year to start trying to seed or anything like that. The other area I was wondering about was alongside the building, along the water. You've got a very steep slope right there,
Right.
almost vertical at some points. And my concern is not, like I say, we can look at the erosion situation again, but my concern is the falling of materials around the trunks of those trees. If they're going to be impacted that way, and that's a sure way to kill a tree. I think those trees are important to the property to hold that slope. It is so steep right there. And I don't know if some of that, it looks like, would it be gravel? Would you call that gravel?
Absolutely, yeah, that was gravel base.
Whether that needs to be pulled back a little away from those trunks, or whether that's going to be stable going forward.
I mean, I believe it would be stable, but ultimately, if the commission wishes us to, I mean, I don't believe we've touched that slope at all. They might have added material just to level that space off, which was shown in the notice of intent application. But ultimately, you know, there was no plan to put any seeding or any type of stabilization on that existing slope.
Yeah. Well, I was, my concern was the tree trunks, if
Yep.
they can,
I mean, we could
Not
hand,
be,
we could
buried.
hand excavate out the trunks if you'd like. I don't think that would be a problem.
anyone else?
I don't see any reason to require any work at this time, but I certainly would like to leave a monitoring period open that we can, you know, keep an eye on the entire back of this. I was very surprised when the mulch went down, and I get that it was kind of late in the season, but when it did about a month ago, grass could have been started then. But here we are, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, we have no problem with a monitoring period. Put a 6-month monitoring period on it. We'll revisit it in the spring or early summer. That's fine with us.
yeah, without any changes, I'd like a 2-year monitoring period on
Sure.
this.
Again, I don't have an issue. It is a sensitive river there. It's right at
Yes.
the start. And there's definitely, a decent amount of activity there at the site that I believe it warrants, definitely us to take a look at it again.
I would also definitely want to see that mulch pulled back and get some grass down once we hit the growing season.
Okay?
It is mostly on the top of the slope, but
Correct.
there was definitely a lot of, even though it was invasive plant, mostly there was plant removal in that area. So we should try to get some stability back, and
No problem.
yeah.
Anything else? Okay, we don't usually take statements from the public on certificates of compliance, but if there's anyone here that wants to comment, I'd be happy to let them. Otherwise, we can have a motion.
Can make a motion to grant the certificate of compliance for this project with the conditions that we have a 2-year monitoring period for this property, and that in the spring, the applicant intends to remove any mulch from the slope on the northeast. Is that north? This
No,
is
that
not.
would
That's
be-
just plan top right of the site, and
I think it's-
and plant some New England slope mix.
Yeah, so we're not, I mean, you don't intend of us to remove all of the mulch.
I do not.
No,
Anything
okay.
anything
So
on
just
the
on the
slope. There's
edge of that
definitely
slope.
some down the slope. It's probably
Yep.
only a couple feet, but
That's fine. Yep,
it's on my drive home.
absolutely.
Thanks.
No problem. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, okay, motion made to issue the certificate with the condition that we monitor the slopes. Any seconds? Steve, seconds? Further discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes, thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks very much. Have a great evening.
Moving on, we have a notice of intent is next, sent by Aravind Srinvasan. The DEP file number is 206-09-0809, and the project location is 87 Lafayette Street. This is a proposal filed by Anka Homes LLC to construct a single-family home and driveway in the 100-year floodplain. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, good evening, Ms. Chairman and board members. Michel El Ashkar from Ashkar Engineering and Surveying, and I'll be representing Mr.
Okay, could you stand a little closer to the microphone, please? when-
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
But he must-
So we have plans. We've looked them over. We do have, I think we have some things that we wondered about.
Yes.
When we looked at the plans. You have a floodplain elevation of 69.1
One.
is what came through on the plan.
That's right.
We normally, when we're in the floodplain, we have to be careful to balance off material that is introduced into the floodplain with material that may be taken out of the floodplain. And usually that's shown in a chart to show the elevations and how much storage area is gained or lost. And we don't have such a chart on your submission, so that would be one thing that I'd be interested in. Basically, I'm not quite sure about, we had some comments. Did they share the comments with you?
Yes,
From
ma'am.
the engineers and
yes,
from
ma'am.
our staff. I don't really know where to begin on this. First of all, this slab and piling type of construction, you are counting on that land that's there right now, the soil that's there right now, being able to hold this construction. And I'm wondering, would you be doing test pits to determine what that soil is like before you start?
Definitely, before we start, the construction, we have to test the soil to see how far down the pile would go. The pile as the foundation, supporting the column, and there was in the note thing misstated about the slab. The slab is not part of the foundation. It's just being there to allow car, to park on it, which is under the structure. But the structure will be sitting on, foundation column, and then the first floor will be elevated, as we stated on the plan, X amount of feet above the flood baseline, where all the utilities will be placed on the first floor. And I already met with Mr. Cady from the engineering department, and he advised me, regarding what you stated, ma'am, about bringing any fill. So I eliminated contour number 65, which was the proposed contour on the plan, to keep it as the matching grade. So the slab will be protruding about 3-4 inches, above the existing grade as it exists now. And it will be slanted, so it will allow any runoff. And I discussed this morning with Mr. Stewart from the storm drain team, because he suggested, that we collect the runoff of the roof, based on 1 inch. And how we gonna do it, he suggested a strategy, and I suggested another strategy as a colleague, and he said, that's fine, let me see if that works. So everything will be contained on site, even collecting, the roof runoff. I'm thinking about making a ditch, which will be 4 feet wide. That's behind the foundation directly, behind the slab of the structure, toward lot 1. 4-foot ditch will be filled, with 4 foot in width, 2.5 feet in depth, and it will be filled 1 foot of gravel and 1/2 foot crushed stone. And the top will be grass to match the existing grade. So that was one suggestion for Mr. Stewart, and he suggested, even a dry well. So we want to see, according to which one it will work to accommodate the runoff from the roof. As far as the structure, itself, the way it was proposed above the flood baseline, and that's where it stands. The first floor will be above 4.1 because I had to lower the first floor by 1 foot to eliminate the 65 contour that was proposed. We want to keep it exactly to the existing grade. So it will be 4.9 now instead of 5.9. So it's 1 foot lower. And again, it will stand above the flood baseline in case the 100-year flood occurs. With the utility, as we stated, it will be all placed on the first floor.
Okay, well, our concern is anything that's going to take up space, additional space in the floodplain area that is not taking up space now. And so that's what you would need to compensate for. Now, you have a 65 contour that's pretty much a foot higher than the contour that's there now, and where is that material coming from?
That's eliminated. I started working on the plan this morning, and I have a new set of plans. These are work in progress, you know, after I spoke to Mr. Stewart. So eliminating completely the proposal of 1 foot contour around the slab.
Okay, so you're keeping the elevations of the
matching the
lot,
existing-
what they are now?
Exactly, the existing grade.
All I heard was that the slab itself is going to be a little bit out of the existing path.
It'll be elevated, you know, a little bit and slanted to allow any runoff, you know, coming into the slab, into that. If you like me, if you want to, I would pass, you know, some of the suggested plans, or I can discuss it later with Mr. Stowe.
Okay.
I'd like to see them when they're finished.
Sure.
But this is something that needs to be accounted for, I think. How are you planning on recapturing that lost area? I know it's minimal, but it still needs to be accounted for. Is there a method of regrading it to account for this additional to provide compensation for this flood storage?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last phrase.
How will you account for the added volume in the flood zone?
There will be no volume added at all, you know. The 4 inches.
This is
All right, you have volume in the supports for your house.
For the
which
house,
we
yeah.
haven't seen any compensation suggestion for that. You have supports, and it looks like you have something surrounding the supports. I don't know whether it's cement.
That's the footing it would be under.
Those under grade, just
Under
supporting
grade, but
the
we
columns.
have nothing that shows the amount of flood storage area that the supports for the house are taking up. You have quite a number of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 supports.
Right.
That we haven't seen any figures as to what is the volume of all of that foot by foot through the floodplain. You have the stairways are also taking up space in the floodplain. What is the volume of those stairways?
They will all be computed and shown on the plan next time, you know, we will submit.
That's information that we need before we can make a decision.
And that should
Louise,
be
you have
accounted
time
for in
for a
each
sec?
1 foot contour interval.
Half a foot?
1.
1 foot?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, so the slab, if it rises above the existing grade, that needs to be compensated for. It might just be a couple of inches, but
We can make
over
it-
the area of that slab, that's quite a lot of area that's being filled.
Louise,
Or we can match the grade. We're still in the, as I stated, work in progress, you know, after getting the feedback from the city engineer as well as the stormwater engineers. All those will be taken in consideration.
so Louise, I'd like to
Okay,
just offer a comment. Can you hear me? It's Bill.
Bill's up there. There he is. Now we
Oh,
can
there
Hi,
he is.
Bill.
We hear you, Bill.
I can't see Zoom, Bill, so I don't know who's on Zoom.
No, that's all right. So I think where we're all landing is we don't have sufficient information to take a vote on this notice of intent. What I would say too is with respect to the columns, hearing that the applicants plan to do some level of test pitting to look at the suitability of the soil, it's very well likely that the number of footings and the size of those footings could change based on soil conditions. I also think the uncertainty of how the stormwater is going to be managed, you know, on site, you know, is another factor. I just feel like it would be too premature to have a vote on this right now, which is where I think we're landing.
Right.
So I would suggest we use this time to just kind of inform the applicant what things they should be including on a revised plan that gets submitted to the commission. And then, we can, decide one way or another whether we think the project merits a positive vote or not.
Sure.
Well, I agree, Bill. We have a lot of missing information here. I'm curious as to, in your 13 points that you have on the plan, several times you comment that the property owner and the contractor are responsible if the foundation fails, one of them it says, I believe. The future owner shall be made aware of the chance of movement and cracking of concrete slabs and walls. I mean, that's a pretty dire warning, I think, that that you're not so confident that this plan is going to work.
No. These are engineering standards that they place on every plan for foundation, but we will be conducting tests, prior to the construction to see how far down, the foundation of the column will go.
Yeah.
On each and every one separately.
What is your time frame for this? Because we also have been told that, was this the project? No, I'm sorry, that's the other project. We're getting into the winter season here,
Right.
and test pits and everything else are going to be difficult
Yeah.
the longer you wait on that.
So probably the early spring when we will do that. Or you mean if we get the approval, when we will start the construction?
Okay, so
Is that the question, ma'am?
I think perhaps we could start making a list of what we need. I'd like to see the results of the test pits and some kind of verification that those soils are going to be supportive enough to hold your structure up.
Yeah.
I'd like to see, the amended plans with the contours correct on them,
Right.
showing that there's going to be no change in elevation. We wanted a slab detail. Is that what you requested?
It's just a flood storage, a change in topography, really. That volume calculation, that would be part of the rest of the table.
Okay, and we've already spoken of all of the volume changes. How much volume of flood area are your proposed pilings and slab and anything else that might be the stairs? How much volume is that? And, is it going to be small enough that it's not going to be considered a detriment to the neighborhood? Or is this something that's you're not going to be able to compensate properly for? So,
In light of that question, in order to avoid kind of potentially de minimis pre-construction costs, I would consider, if we can find satisfaction in the rest of these points, to let them do their test pits after preliminary approval of the plan, and just say if the test pits result in the change of a design, then you'd have to, recalculate your compensation.
well, you said you were planning to do test pits anyway, right? It's not that you're doing them for us.
We do that prior to construction,
Oh,
just
okay.
to
I
see,
missed that
how far
Fine.
down the foundation will go.
Great.
What the statement that you read on the plan, those are on each and every plan we put it, for contractors. Because when we design, we have, even if you do one test pit, it's not going to tell you, where all the pile of all these foundation for the columns are going. So each and every one will be assessed individually That's during construction, not the prior. I mean, we can get an idea what the soil what the soil type is, and design accordingly. But during construction, that's what usually happen.
Okay. Well, you have a lot of boards to go to.
Right.
And I think you have an idea. Does anyone have any more questions or things that we would request that be submitted?
I think the biggest thing for us first is the floodplain compensation. That's step one, floodplain compensation for us.
Yeah, the compensation is one of the most important things for us, the compensation, and we'd like to see it in a chart, foot by foot, how much is in each level.
And each, the compensation, you're talking about the vault for the flood?
I'm talking about compensation for things that you are going to put in the floodplain that aren't there now.
Okay.
Bottom line is there could be no net loss of flood storage. So you need to demonstrate that in your plans where you're going to be doing excavating or filling in. You know, you got to make sure that there's no net loss in flood storage.
Okay.
In any particular 1 foot interval.
Correct.
Okay, sure.
And then I would say secondary to that, Louisa, would be just, I'd like clarity on how they plan on managing stormwater on site.
Okay, I think that's something they're still working on, so could we need that stormwater?
Yes, with
plan
Mr.
as
Stewart,
well.
you know, we, of course, I'm gonna run everything by him before we make the plan and submit it to you.
What's a reasonable timeline for you to have that revision back to us? We'd need it one week prior to the meeting.
Sure.
Our next meeting is January 12th. So it would have to be in by Wednesday, January 5th.
I might not be able to make it, you know, because I'm taking a trip, an emergency trip regarding a family overseas. I'll be back after the 15th of January, so we might not make the next meeting.
Okay,
We might
you
make
can-
the other. Should I file for an extension on the next meeting?
We can decide today to continue to the January 26th meeting, and if you have not submitted by January 19th, then we can you just continue again.
Another extension. Thank
So,
you.
Unless anybody else has got a comment, I'll make a motion to continue. Go ahead.
Madam
Well-
Commissioner,
We did open the hearing, and we do have some people here that want to speak. We will still be able to take comments at the next hearing, since we're continuing it, but since people came out, I think we ought to hear what they would like to say. So is anyone here that wants to ask questions or make comments on this particular proposal? This is
Yes.
87
Yes,
Lafayette
madam.
Street. Is there someone
Yes,
on
madam.
Zoom? Hi, Paul.
good evening, Madam Commissioner and board members.
Okay, we're not hearing you too well. Can you,
Hold on here. Can you hear me now?
that's a little better.
All right, let me get closer.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes. My name is Paul Belay. I reside at 65 Elmer Street in the Rosemont Terrace neighborhood. This neighborhood has gone through two flood events, as you know, Louise, in 2006 and in 2007, 11 months apart. We have, I don't know if, it's poor to do this presentation like this, but this is what my neighborhood looked like on 2006. If you look down at the telephone pole, that is exactly where this proposed project is going to be. There's 6 feet of water. The water is right below the stop sign. So we fought the first project, and they ended up putting a house up on stilts. Well, the last time I saw a house on stilts was on the coast in Seabrook. It's the only house in the city on stilts. And we talk about, every time we go to zoning board meetings and all that, we always talk about projects that conform to the neighborhood. Well, a house on stilts in an old neighborhood does not conform to the neighborhood. So I know this is only the first step. I know the neighbors are adamantly opposed to this project, as it is a 100-year flood zone. There've been some improvement, yes, but we don't know what Mother Nature's going to do. And more importantly, the quality of life that my neighbors and I have been enjoying for all of these years. Bad enough, we've got the college students, and all that, and I don't have to go into that, but you know what's going on in our neighborhood with that. But to keep the integrity of the neighborhood, to look like, in fact, the house that's going to be in between these two projects is historically registered. It's one of the first homesteads in the Rosemont Terrace. So it would be a shame, to squeeze this homestead in between two stilts. Anyway, I know we're in the beginning project, and we'll be talking to more commissions and some more boards before this is over, but I just want to have my voice heard. And I know there's my friend there, Janet Paz is there too. She's an abutting neighbor. But thank you, Madam Commissioner, for letting me be heard.
Thank you. Yes, if you'd like to speak, please state your name and address.
Sure. My name is Jason Perry, and I live at 99 Rosemont Street. I have some basic information that anybody can Google, but Massachusetts Harwich Water Department says that loam soil can absorb waters at a rate of 1/4 to 2 inches per hour, and that an area of about 1,000 square feet displaces about 623 gallons with 1 inch of rainfall. This doesn't take into account grade or because the last house was significantly raised up from the ground level, forcing water to lower areas, my home. It also doesn't account for gutters, and the direct water, like the previous home, built into the floodplain, which directs water into our home. There's also secondary effects to consider, like mold that happens during every water rising, and structural integrity, and also rodents who are driven into houses when the water levels rise. I'm not a millionaire, and anybody who has seen my house can attest to that. But we pay our taxes and we try to do the right thing. I hope you consider this vote carefully for the neighborhood, our home, and my wife and child. And I'm sure whatever you decide will be the right thing. And I understand that the politics of this case may mean it's not the right thing for my family. I just felt I had to say at least my case. I have a couple of pictures here that show the previous building that was built in my house with the last rainfall, that was November 12th, and it pouring in through the basement. I also have the last picture is of what the grade of the land was before and what it is now. I don't know if you want to see any of it, but it's there.
Okay,
Thank you.
how close are you to this particular lot?
I'm the abutting neighbor. I'm right next door.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
We won't take your pictures because we take them, we have to keep them.
That's all right. You can keep them. There you go. I don't need these. Walmart, Walgreens.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, you okay?
No, you're fine. The wheels popped up on that.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, good evening. My name is Sharon Janda. I live at 84 Lafayette Street. I've been living there for 30 years, okay? Now, we all went through the disaster in 2006. We all stuck together as one big happy family. We lost a lot of people after the flood, okay? Right now, they went in, we have the rain. I've seen the yard where they want to build. You can go swimming. You can put your bathing suit on, take a nice dip when it rains out. Okay? The catch basins don't even hold all the rainwater. Okay? They put new gas lines in. They did the streets over. Yeah, it looks good. But it all runs right into my driveway. So if they build a house there, they're going to have a driveway coming out right across from my front door. I don't agree with it being done. I oppose it. You know, when we had the rain, my husband called the city to find out, you know, if they could check the sub pump, because we had water coming up out of our toilet, and they told us to deal with it. There was 40 other people that were ahead of us. Okay? We pay our taxes. We should have our rights and our say.
Thank you. We are trying to review the stormwater plan, and the applicant is working with the city. They're not allowed to put stormwater onto neighboring properties.
You know, there isn't that many catch basins over on Lafayette Street, especially where I live. I have one out in front of my house, and there's two next to the 3 tenements, right at the corner of Rosemont. Those are the only catch basins that are right there. The other ones are down the other end, at the dead end of it. And there's only 2 down there. And every time it rains, it looks like the Merrimack coming over the falls. I mean, it's pretty bad when you see your neighbors out there trying to clean the catch basins out so the water will go down, you know?
Next time it rains, I'll try to visit your neighborhood.
What is that?
Next time it rains, I'll try to visit your neighborhood. Yes.
Well, we called, what, a few years ago, and they said, oh, next time it happens, call us, we'll come out. No, I don't come out. No one come out and look to see. You know, they put the gas lines in, they did all the roads over, they made it look nice. You know, it's, to me, I think it's a lot worse. And they do go build a house there. Yeah, what about the land? They're disrupting. You know, they could actually dig down, you know, put the slab in. But how do they know what kind of damage they're doing to Jay's house? The house has been there for years.
So if I could, I was with a group of volunteers that came and worked on the berm with Paul Belay earlier this year. We did some serious, invasive removal and trash removal from the area. I assure you that we will not approve this project unless the applicant can demonstrate that there will be zero impact to the flood zone. I assure you. There's a lot of work to go on the plans, and we need clear and concise evidence that there will be no detrimental impact to the neighborhood. So we have a lot more to see. We will review all of this information, and we are very aware of how sensitive this neighborhood is to storm and flood water.
Well, after we had the flood in 2006, there was a little cottage right next door to me, and it was an empty lot that they owned. Now you look at it.
Sure.
I mean, it has a 2-car garage, 2 floors, has a garage on the other side that was supposed to come down. They weren't supposed to do that. The city turned around and told us that, oh, that was overlooked. It was overlooked. Oh, there's nothing we can do about it now.
Yeah, well, we're trying to look at this very carefully because we're very aware of the flooding situation over there, and it's not just one flood. It's many floods over many years.
Yeah.
So we do have to be careful. The people that live there now need to be protected from any detrimental effects of new construction.
I mean, I don't even own the land, and this year I was out there, and I was over there cutting the shrubs alongside the fence that's there, okay? Because it was so high, it looked like crap. I sit on my front porch, and I'm looking at a bunch of trash and everything else that's there, all the trees overgrown. I was cutting it, I was putting it in my barrel, I was having yard waste pick it up at my house.
Okay, well, I can assure you we're going to look at this very carefully. We have the regulations that we have to uphold.
Okay?
Is there somebody else that was interested in speaking? Please, step to the mic.
Hi, my name's Janet Paz. I live at 104 Alma Street. My home abuts the first property that the city okayed them to build, and it also abuts the property that they want to build on. I have a lot of concerns because I know the displacement, what happens. We can't know what will happen, what Mother Nature will bring. But I do know that this neighborhood has one stilt house. It definitely doesn't need another stilt house. And it also states that it is a single-family dwelling. However, it is not a single-family dwelling. The first house that was okayed was supposed to be a single family, but it is not a single family. He rents it to college students.
If I can just jump in, we have no jurisdiction on the design of the houses or its
Okay, so it's just the
nature.
floodplain?
We are here only to enforce the wetland
flood.
regulations.
Well,
That would be a zoning board issue.
Okay. So I also have pictures of the rainstorm from 3 weeks ago, and I'd just like to show somebody that yard. So. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there someone else that would like to speak? Introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name's Stephen Latterwood. I live at 7880 Alma Street, the corner of Rosemont and Alma, directly across from the property we're talking about. My concern is what you stated earlier as the flood mitigation, the runoff. What are they going to do with that? On the last project that they built, we were here in a meeting, and not this gentleman, there was another gentleman that wanted to build on that property, and they shut him down because they told him they had to build flood mitigation tanks. They had to have them put in the ground for the runoff, the displacement of the water. So that never went through, and then somehow, I don't even believe you guys entertained the building here. It went through the Mass Environmental on the last project. The sign was out front. When I went down to get a copy, they said they didn't have anything. But yeah, I live directly across, and I'm just concerned with the water that comes off of his property. It takes a while. It goes out into the street, and in the wintertime, it freezes when we have any water or melting from the snow. So the road itself has an area, a quite large area of ice in one spot all the time, which is quite dangerous because there's also a stop sign, and that's at the intersection. The property that he's going to do now, it's very, it's like a bowl. It's very low, and I'm hearing him talking about putting a foundation, and then it's only going to be 3 inches above. If it's above, it's only 3 inches above the existing, that's going to flood out on any rain event because that's where all the rain gets captured. And so my concern is whoever's going to buy the house, they're going to have, in the wintertime, it's going to be all ice. It's going to be a solid block of ice underneath there. It's going to be dangerous for the occupants, and it's going to be a surprise. So I agree with you on, mitigating the stormwater runoff also from the roof. And this poor gentleman here, he is sandwiched in between. And the gutter coming off the existing house now is pointed directly into his yard. And it's only, I think it's 10 feet. And since then, anytime we have a water event, he's been having a lot of issues with water in his basement. and to do it on the other side of his house. He's going to be sandwiched right in between them. So, yeah, I am concerned with the neighborhood and what they're going to do with that extra water and where's it going to go. And the other property was filled in. Dump trucks came in. I called an inspector. I didn't get any reply. I called again. I called the mayor's office. I finally got someone out there, and they said, "You can't do this. This isn't. They're not going to get an occupancy permit." But they did. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak on this project? You will have an opportunity at the next time we hear the project to speak if something comes to mind. We've made a motion now to continue, and I believe the proponent wants to continue to the second meeting in January, which would be the 26th, I believe, January 26th. So we will continue the hearing to that point. The hearing is open. We can't close it until we have all of the information that we need to make a decision. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Steve. Any more discussion from the board? All those in favor of continuing?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so continued at the request of the proponent until January 26th. Thank you. I can't hear you.
Yes, if the 1 week prior to the meeting for submission deadline isn't met, you would request an additional continuance, and we would make another motion at that meeting on the 26th. 1 week prior, yeah, submission would need to be by Wednesday, the 19th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Next, we have a request for determination of applicability sent in by Hardik Patel, 11 Perron Way. And this is a request to construct an addition to a single-family home within the 100-foot buffer to a bordering vegetated wetland. Good evening.
Good evening. Joe Everson from JSD Construction. Spoke to Peter, and I provide him the requested document from the engineer.
Okay, we did get an additional document a couple of days ago showing the distance or the location of the 100-foot wetland line, the buffer line, and it appears that your construction is outside of that area.
Correct.
It's about 90 feet, I believe, from the resource, or...
Where I'm building is pretty much like 120. So it's a 108, the wet zone, and where I'm putting the addition is already an existing, food is in there. So I'm about like 128. I show it to them, and they told me I still have to come to this meeting.
Okay, I would agree, no matter whether it's 100 or 128, I would agree that you are not, that you are out of the buffer. What we would be concerned about is any disruption of soils. It's a hillside there, and it slopes down to the wetland resource. I would be concerned about any loose soil or debris that might be able to roll down the hill during rainstorms or things like that. Do you have any plans to put up a silt fence or construction fence along the property line?
Correct. So we're gonna build a little retainer wall there if it's needed. So we're gonna test the soil to make sure it's oil or anything like that before we dig the foundation.
You do have a difficult access area to get particularly to the back of the house. Are you going to need any heavy equipment to go around the house?
No, I'm gonna bring a mini excavator there. Should be fine.
Okay, so, and what about storing materials? Will you be doing any excavation work?
No,
No. So you won't have any piles of soil or anything like that sitting around?
no, everything. So I'm not even gonna put a dumpster in there because they don't want it. So the property owner is very picky. So we're gonna bring like a mobile dumpster. So we're gonna take it out and bring it to a proper disposal location.
Okay. I didn't have any other concerns. This particular lot isn't, you aren't actually, it isn't, the ownership doesn't actually go up to the resource area. There is another driveway in between.
No.
So I think this could easily be a -3, if someone would like to make the motion.
Make a motion to grant a -3 on this.
Okay, motion made to issue a -3 determination on this particular project, seconded.
Second.
Seconded by Brad. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes. So what this means is that we agree that you are in or near a resource area, but that your project won't affect the resource as long as you put in some kind of a silt barrier along your property, along the property line to catch any soil that may be disturbed and wash downhill. If it weren't downhill, you probably wouldn't even need it, but
Okay.
it is quite a slope right there.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good night.
Welcome.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks.
Okay, other business, election of officers.
Can we
had-
take National Grid out of order? And,
Oh, National Grid.
let them
Okay.
carry on?
Oh, all right, we have quite a contingent here.
Unless they wanted to see the election of officers. It's very exciting.
Okay,
Come back next year, too.
we have a National Grid, we have an update. This is the LAGMP project, the Lowell Area Gas Modernization. This was a project that was denied by this commission. It was given a superseding order by the Mass DEP, and now they are back to settle an appeal to our wetlands ordinance. So we have been given a proposal. We have discussed it at previous meetings. And how do we proceed on this one? Did you want to present anything, or?
Hi. I assume everyone had a chance to review. You said you discussed the proposal previously, so unless you have any questions, I mean, I'm not really sure. I've never been in this position before, but I know you have to vote on it, so.
Okay, so the proposal included, we don't actually have a copy right here. It did include a donation of $14,000 to promote conservation in the city of Lowell.
Correct.
In response to the fact that we are losing a few trees on the project site.
Right.
So this will be for tree planting, I believe is what it was designated as. And the board itself discussed issuing this amount of money to the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust in order to let them handle the tree planting part of it. They've been involved in tree planting for a number of years. The other part of it is that we got some verification that there were going to be some large trees saved along the construction route, and that the site would be monitored for a couple of years, and if natural regeneration did not occur, we are going to discuss some kind of replication or reseeding or replanting of the area. Was there anything else in that proposal that I'm forgetting?
Louise, the only other thing I would acknowledge that there were a number of specific comments or requirements that Mass DEP issued in their superseding order of conditions that I believe both the city and the applicant have agreed to adhere to.
That's right.
A number of people commenting, is that what you said?
No, if you recall, Mass DEP in their superseding order of conditions had a number of specific comments to help ensure that the project adhered to the Wetlands Protection Act and that the natural regeneration that you just mentioned would be successful. And both the city, or I should say the commission, and I believe the applicant, agreed to adhere to that, and even if necessary, have an environmental monitor to make sure that those provisions were complied with.
Okay, and we did, I was impressed with the order of conditions, that the superseding order, it was written better than we wrote our own first one. And we are agreeing, I believe, to keep that those superseding conditions in place, even though we're settling, the dispute. So if there's no further discussion.
I did just have one question. I was wondering what the breast height diameter was determined to be, or clarified to be, rather, for the trees that will remain.
The trees that will remain, or that plan remains the same as what we had included in our supplemental information to the filings and the notice of intent. I don't have that information offhand. I know there was a number of trees that we determined we could save and a number that we couldn't, and then there was several that we need to make kind of a game time decision.
Right.
They were the larger trees, right? 24 inches plus?
For the tree
16 inches plus.
With the notice of intent, we looked at it, it was 21 trees that were 16 inches in diameter and larger. And of that 21, there were 9 that were just within right within the alignment and couldn't be saved. There were 7 that absolutely would be, and I think there are further 9 that we need to determine at the time of construction and work with the contractor.
Gotcha.
Those do vary between 16 and about 24 is the largest.
Okay, I was just wondering if there was a set diameter. I had read in the superseding order condition, the cover letter, that was clarified. I didn't know if there was a set diameter determined or not. That's fine.
I think we discussed that when we were in the field.
Right, totally. Yeah, I didn't know if that's.
I believe it remained the same. They agreed to that as well.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
Okay, so as I understand it, we're voting to approve the settlement document tonight. And I'm not sure in what
I believe
form
you're
that
voting to
approval is going
approve.
to take. Do you understand what we're issuing to?
Go ahead, Bill.
tonight?
Oh, this is Mark here from the Law Department. I believe you're voting to approve the amended notice of intent and issue a superseding order of conditions on that.
Just under the ordinance, though, correct?
Correct.
Christina, do you want? Sorry, outside counsel.
Yeah, Christina Marshall, Anderson and Krieger. I agree with how Mark just framed the vote. So it would be an approval of the amended notice of intent as amended by the most recent letter and approving the project under the local wetlands bylaw.
Okay, so we're approving the amended order. I think we wanted to incorporate all of the superseding orders that came before into our amended order. And we're also agreeing with the settlement as far as the conservation donation. So is somebody ready to make a motion for that superseding order? Bill, you haven't done much work tonight. Only kidding.
Bill's a great candidate for that motion.
Only kidding.
I'm not sure if I'm going to get it right. I think what I heard is we're voting to approve the amended notice of intent. Someone help me there. But what was it, via the existing local wetlands ordinance.
Right.
Mark, would you mind repeating it? I don't want to get it wrong. I mean, the bottom line is this, is that we're all in violent agreement of what we're approving. It's just how do we capture it? I mean, what happened is that Mass DEP intervened, had a superseding order of conditions with a number of specific conditions. We thought those conditions were good, and my understanding is we and the applicant didn't have any issue with meeting those conditions. We also agreed with the suggested monetary compensation to go to the city of Lowell to address, environmental issues as kind of an offset for the loss of trees. And then with respect to the site itself, we agreed to, through the site walk, there were about 21 trees of a certain diameter that we agreed to be saved through this project. And the last thing was to make sure that we had the areas that were disturbed would naturally regenerate over time. I mean, those were the four things. I just don't know how to kind of capture that in a motion. So I'm willing to.
Yeah, I think a motion to approve the amended notice of intent pursuant to the Wetlands Act and issue an order of conditions incorporating the terms and requirements of the Mass DEP superseding order of conditions.
All right, I think I got it. And of those order of conditions, the specific conditions that we were talking about were, saving the trees as identified in the plan, the $14,000 donation that the applicants agreed to make for the lost resource, and then an assurance that the natural regeneration of the disturbed area would take place, and that would be done through incorporation of the specific conditions included in the Mass DEP superseding order. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that all sounds right to me.
Happy to make it as a motion. Thank you for that. So I'm gonna, Pete, you ready? I'm gonna offer a motion to issue an approval of the amended notice of intent pursuant to the Wetlands Protection Act and issue a City of Lowell order of conditions with the following four specific conditions. One, save the trees that were outlined in the plan following the site visit with National Grid. Two, accept the $14,000 donation, that was being done to offset the loss of the resource. Three, ensure that the natural regeneration of the disturbed area takes place by incorporating the specific conditions that were outlined in the Mass DEP superseding order of conditions. I get it, Mark?
Okay.
I'm so very sorry, but just one very small note on that. At the very beginning of the motion, you said pursuant to the Wetlands Protection Act. And here, I think it needs to be pursuant to the Lowell Wetlands Ordinance.
Well, yes,
That's the only change.
Yeah, we're amending and giving a superseding order of conditions through the Lowell Wetlands Ordinance. The state has done
that's correct.
Wetlands Protection Act.
Got it.
Thank you, Christina.
Okay, so is there a second for that motion?
I second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion from the commission? All those in favor?
Can we take a roll
Aye.
call vote?
Okay. Roll call. You want to call the names, Peter?
Chairman Varnum,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bunis,
Abstain?
Commissioner Standish,
Yes.
Commissioner Lovely,
Yes.
Commissioner Lipput.
Yes.
Okay, we have four. Do we have any opposed? We have, I believe, 4 yays, 1 abstention. Motion passes. And how soon will this get rolling? Is there
We're
any
targeting
plan for
an April
construction?
start date for construction.
Okay, so I think your time with us has ended, except for the monitoring, and thank you very much. It's been quite a long haul on this particular project, and I think we probably both got the best we could have hoped for out of it in the end, and let's just hope the environment is intact and regenerates properly, and everyone's happy.
Agreed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for sitting through a long meeting to wait for this.
Understandable. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't realize there were so many here for that. You recognize them?
Yes.
And we didn't have any from the community, I guess. Okay, backing up a bit, we do have election of officers on the agenda again tonight. Do we want to wait till we have a full board, or do we want to do that? What's your
I'd be
pleasure?
fine waiting.
Okay, shall we postpone? What do you guys want to do?
We should
I
wait
think
till we have a
that-
full board, I believe. I'll make a
Agreed.
motion to postpone the election of officers until January 12th?
Okay, motion made, seconded by
Second.
Brad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed? Okay, we'll try the election again at the next meeting. Minutes, we have minutes of November 10th meeting. which
I got a
seems like
question,
long
Louise.
time ago. Do we have any motion on the minutes?
I could be missing it, but I went through all my emails. I didn't see the minutes.
So I was just about to get on the mic for that. We kind of put them on the agenda by default, but I believe that Bill is right, that the minutes for November 10th have not actually been
Okay.
sent out yet.
Okay, the minutes are going to be postponed until our January 12th meeting as well. That's
If
the
Peter, the other
end.
thing Louise, the other thing I would mention, Peter, I don't know how frequently you guys upload the minutes to the website, but I do know that there's like a few from like September and October that, we approved. They're not uploaded yet.
Okay, I'll go back through the website tomorrow. That should be
Oh,
okay.
I didn't realize that. Okay, so we may have more than one set of minutes at
No,
our next
Louise,
meeting.
they've been approved. They just haven't been uploaded as approved to the website for the public. That's all.
Oh, I see, okay. All right, that's the end of our listed business. Is there any other business that we should discuss? We don't have another meeting for a month?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Happy New Year.
Yeah.
All right.
Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays to
New Year,
everyone.
Happy holidays.
And a motion
That's
to
right.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, seconded by Weston and everyone else. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you and good night.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Bye, Bill.
Yep, have good holidays.